We're recording and we're not muted anymore.
Okay.
I've been walking everybody around a little bit.
Huh?
Everybody online. It's just.
We're recording and we're not muted appropriately.
We're talking.
Hi, but,
Alright.
okay, everybody, it's 5:30, let's call the meeting to order. Rachel, would you like to call roll, please?
Yeah. Richard Swarthout,
Here.
Karen might be running late. Scott, are you? Deanna Mulder.
Here.
There she is. Sarah McLean. Here. Ag Foss. Here. Jamie Monkey.
Here.
Great. Wait for Karen.
We tap our toes when she comes.
Hello. Karen Scott, she's here.
I'm
All
here.
right.
Baby care. Good, we have a quorum. Okay, let's see, the April 18th minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look? Any comments or questions? Look good to me. Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's see, we all got Ashley O'Reilly's letter in our packet for board communications.
Yeah,
Anything else you wanna-
Yeah, so Ashley O'Reilly reached out specifically about the parks survey. And the electronic versions, like going in the Harbor Light with the QR code, posting on social media, like may not get to our population, like city residents. So she brought up other ways we can do it, like hard copy mailing, or possibly, you know, visiting the Friendship Center or Bay Bluffs or places like that where people can take the survey, or possibly we talked about doing like a couple hours at the library where someone sits there and kind of walks them through how to do the survey. Haven't set anything up at this time to do so. But figured I would send it to the board for a discussion.
Can we just put hard copies at the Friendship Center? Not like actively be there, but give them that option.
Yeah, some of the survey questions will have to be altered a little bit just of how we ask them, but I'm sure we can revamp them in a way that makes sense for physical copies.
And can we tell them also that hard copies will be available here? Cause I mean, I think we know we can't send a mailer out to everybody.
And doing a combination of hard copies and electronic, so somebody will have to input them that doesn't like hurt the integrity of the survey.
I should be able to get the questions close enough. They'll just be going through those copies and then inputting. It's gonna be getting survey, like Survey Monkey does all that for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
One more person touching it, like, could
Yeah.
somebody come back on us and say, so we changed answers?
yeah.
Do we have any budget at all for this? Because you can do like cheap mailer from the post office, just plain old white stock. They just don't do it to addresses, they just put it into post office boxes and mailboxes as delivery people take it around. And it just goes to the city residents. We might have had a shot at getting to the city residents that way, something that we did for the public safety millage.
Okay, yeah, we can talk
It
more
worked
on
out pretty
that.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't expensive.
You were
It's been-
able to get a price maybe.
yeah, as long as it's not anything, you know.
Yeah. Kind of concentrating could be, and you could do that here potentially, yeah.
I'd prefer that because we're not going to, like, if we take it to one place and we say, here's hard copies of this one place, and then we're not taking it to other residents and we're not putting it in other areas, I guess I would be concerned that we're not necessarily being equitable with every
Mhm.
piece of it then.
Right.
And I'd be open to, I mean, I'd even go volunteer at the library for a couple hours if we think we're gonna get a turnout.
Yeah, I don't know if we would or not, to be
Yeah.
honest, so. Okay, well, we'll think of, those options and I'll investigate. Once these ribbon cuttings are done, that'll open up some time. We do have a lot of responses on Survey Monkey, so it'd be interesting to try.
What did we get, Rachel?
Solution, I mean, last I checked, it was like over 100 and it was about 150, it's close to,
Are we gonna go through it again tonight?
no.
I did mention to Rachel that I was gone for 2 weeks. And I've been back for 2 weeks and I haven't actually come across a survey anywhere myself personally. So I'm sure I'm not really an exception to that. So I haven't noticed it in the
Reshare
newspaper.
it.
Yeah.
But it went in the Harbor Light already.
Yeah.
At one point, there was discussions of QR codes on like yard signs.
Yeah, we talked about that too. We could also give physical copies to staff now that they're at the parks, like the lifeguards and skate park.
Let's do an informal survey. How many people in the audience tonight have taken the park survey? Raise your hand.
I think,
And I've done a master survey, so when I see them, I have participated, I didn't see them. Was it on
Have
Facebook?
you guys
Yeah,
not
it's on-
seen them?
Cause I follow Facebook.
it was on Facebook and it was, the
Okay.
QR code was put into the Harbor Light and then we sent it out through the elementary and middle school and high
And
school
then
to
the
those.
city
families.
newsletter had it.
I'm
and it's on the
carrying
city
around my
website.
Harbor Light and I don't use Facebook like daily, so.
So maybe
I have
yard
not seen it.
signs.
Harbor Light did say, and I kind of wondered, the QR codes sometimes don't print very well on newspaper.
Mm.
But
So
you're
they're
saying
a
you didn't
little,
see it.
it was basically like, it may work, it may not, so I sent them the link too, just in case, so I believe they posted it out.
I'd really like us to consider doing a mailer.
It's
Here
pretty
we have a
inexpensive.
A mailer with the,
well
just the
educated, you
QR
guys
code.
would do the QR codes, right, if you saw it,
I
but
saw
you
it.
just haven't seen it, so.
I'd be open to mailing a QR code, but not hard copies of the survey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're running that until
And I'm running it all summer, as long as we're still getting
like till Labor Day.
people taking it, yeah.
One more thought, can you print out a QR code for Ally to use at the park, yoga in the park?
And
So
the farmer's
people sign
market,
in.
farmer's market too, especially
Maybe
this
yard
weekend.
signs, yep.
Do of every door.
We'll just walk around with
That's
t-shirts
your
at the
direct-
farmer's market with the
Yeah.
QR code.
No, that's what I was thinking.
It's real inexpensive.
Yeah, we did that
I feel
once.
like-
It was cheap.
Sophia could even get some volunteers for a farmer's market in July or something where we
Put
can
it
set up a
at-
booth that has like what we've done and then say, here, take our survey.
Do you mind taking the lead on that, Jamie?
I can talk to Sophia when she's back from Spain.
And then maybe fill out the form for farmers market with Hannah.
Sure.
Okay. Excellent, okay. Now,
Speak
let's
up a
see.
little. I think
Okay.
speak up a little.
Okay.
Audience, I think.
Yeah. Can everybody hear okay? No. We're gonna try and turn up the volume a little here. Okay, should we move on then to public comments? Do we have anything not related to the agenda tonight that anybody would like to bring up?
Well,
Can't see the agenda. Is there one? I know.
you want us to bring things up?
Can't see it.
Yeah, so this is public comment for anything that is not on the agenda.
Can't see the agenda. Can you make it larger?
Can you see it up here?
How about just reading it quickly?
So new business is the Shea Locomotive, Parks Board meeting calendar, skate park ribbon cutting, and the playground ribbon cutting.
Can you add Shea Park to that?
No, we can't add an agenda item, but what you can do is you can give a public comment in regards, we can add it for a future meeting at the board.
Speak now.
Yeah, so if
Do
you
you
have,
want us to speak now?
yeah, so if you have a public comment about Shea Park, now you can speak.
Or is it about the locomotive?
No,
Okay.
Shea
No, Shea
Park
seating.
is a little area
Yes.
on Pine Street with supposedly a beautiful view of the,
I'm sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
Can we get your name
And
and address for the
I'm
record?
Barbara Lapham, 680 Pine Street.
Okay, thank you.
There is many acres of beautifully landscaped grass that the city maintains. And in your mission statement, it says for activity areas, which this would be considered, should be well-maintained and safe. That little park area, which is tiny, but it's not well-maintained. There is no grass there. It's all weeds. And there are a lot of holes and places where you could break your leg, like a family from Harbor Springs, if they wanted to bring a picnic and sit at that picnic table and enjoy the view with their children. They can't do that because the children could not run around. It's too dangerous. There are all these pit holes and animal holes. Nobody's ever weeded it or gotten rid of the weeds. There's no dirt and grass. It's just a very dangerous area. And I don't know why you've spent all this money on all the grass everywhere. But there's one little park that would serve the community. Remember your mission statement of well-maintained and safe, of which neither of them are. And I would like you to bring this up, and please, it's such a small piece of land compared with all these other areas, grassed areas, that, you know, and also it could be a liability if a child, you know, steps into one of these potholes and breaks a leg, you know, the city could be sued. So, you know, and they should be sued because it is not maintained.
Sounds like the scenic part, is that?
Shea over.
Yeah, you see overlook.
So to clarify, there are holes in the park, so fill and seed, correct? Is that what we're talking about?
What are you saying?
Fill the
Okay,
holes,
you need,
grade,
what it needs to be done is you have to get rid of the weeds. It has to be graded. Dirt has to be put on it and seeded.
so I will speak to DPW. It likely won't, I can't promise it'll be this year. But I will speak to DPW and have them look at it, yes.
But they've been asking for that for 30 years.
No,
And how many years?
no.
40?
I'll speak on another issue
Okay,
to do with the.
for a long, long time. So it's gotta be this year.
Thank you.
Talk to the city.
Go ahead.
Carol Gove, 677 Pine Street. I'm directly across the street. Barbara's right next, the new house, right next door to the park. So I think I've had that house for about 38 years. And ever since I've lived there, Tom Watson, who used to live in Barbara's house, took care of calling Al and Jim. And Al and Jim came about every other year, cleared the whole thing out. And then it grew up, you know, a year or two, and they'd come back again. We split the bill. That was that. Then we got Tom Richards. And he announced Al and Jim couldn't work for the city anymore. We didn't know why. So Al and Jim couldn't work for the city. So instead, he said we had to get a soil expert. And then we had to get erosion control expert. And then we had to get an arborist. And then the final report was from the soil, the grapevines hold the cliff. That's fine, they're fine. You can take anything out of there under 10 inches anytime you want. The invasive species are the Norway maples. The poison ivy, all of that stuff can go. That was fine, except we had to hire Ben Bailey. That's the only person we could use. And Ben is a really nice guy. He's really nice. He's very slow and very exacting, and he would take out just a little. We couldn't even see the difference. And by the way, we, the taxpayers, paid the bill for the soil test, the erosion control, the arborist, and Ben Bailey. This has been going on for 38 years. Why? So that's one part. Now we have the wheelway. And let me say, I think that's I like it. But who's funding that? Is that the city or a
That's not,
nonprofit?
that's meant to be all through private donation
Okay,
and grants.
okay. So did they have to get the soil expert and the arborist
The
and?
city, I think that's the city engineer.
What?
The city engineer will handle all of that, when it gets to, and they probably
So
actually.
Benchmark Engineering did all the engineering with MDOT for the wheelway. So they would have done all the soil studies,
So
anything
they
that had to
thought
be
it's
done.
okay to do that,
Correct.
but yeah, we couldn't. Like the 10 feet above that.
I can't speak to that. The Parks Board
Well, I'd just like you
doesn't,
to look into it.
Yeah.
And maybe reimburse us for the 38 years of paying for the grant for the tree trimming.
Good luck with
so,
that.
so,
Good luck with that.
Ridiculous. I'm
So-
a taxpayer.
to be clear, the Parks Board doesn't deal with vegetation management.
Who does?
That
Tree
would
board.
be the tree board.
I've never heard of the tree
So
board.
we meet, yeah, we meet on, this Friday, actually.
We Never
at
went to
noon.
the tree board in 38 years.
If you'd like to come, we meet,
No, what's going on the past? Was the tree board there all those years?
All right, when is it meeting so we can go?
it's on Friday at noon.
Friday at noon.
Okay. But the tree board wasn't
And it's
involved in all
here?
this stuff.
It's here.
Well,
So the tree board is a new development since all these other things.
What, 10 years, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking the previous 20
Before
years.
that, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then getting a little off topic, I think there is a group in, that handles the trimming, and I think Gary.
No, it's Gary Stewart. That's me and Gary Stewart.
Gary
We're the
Stewart,
group.
yes, okay.
And the other neighbors.
but it really didn't get trimmed.
No, Ben said he did it.
We
but-
paid the money.
Okay, well, let's talk about this at tree board then. and
Okay, so the tree board is not the authority, not,
Not parks, no, yeah.
okay, all right.
I apologize, we have to send you somewhere else, but unfortunately, we don't deal with the vegetation management plan. I can handle Shape Scenic Park for you, though. I can
Good.
speak to DPW.
And it needs to be done before some child
And I need-
injures themselves.
Here.
Okay, anything else then?
No, that's.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to new business, Shea Locomotive. Do you want to give a little background on that, Rachel?
Yes, so some of our board members weren't present, when Kristen Baylog is the director of the Historical Society. She came and spoke to us, I think it was last fall, sometime about adding, a amenity to Shea Park. She was also in charge of putting the AHA, at Shea Park years ago. So she's here to present again with some final plans and location. She went to council last night. I updated you all on that meeting. So we're here to hear her and give or not give, whatever the board decides, a recommendation for council. Yep, and discuss. I will hand it over to Chris.
All right. Hi there. Good afternoon. Thank you for hosting me again. Some of you are familiar faces. My name is Kristen Baylog. I'm the executive director serving the Harbor Springs Area Historical Society. We've been very visible in the community in the most recent 5-6 years, working on the Shea Hexagon House as well as Ephraim Shea's boat, the AHA. And we're fortunate to be gifted the Shea locomotive number 2005, built in 1907. As you know, our mission as a historical entity is preservation of historic sites in Shea Park. And these are things that we feel are really unique to our region. And it's essential to our growth to maintain a piece of our heritage throughout our community. And that's what we do at the Historical Society. We'll be celebrating 35 years next year. So I've given you a very extensive slideshow just to help inform you and educate our whole community, whomever chooses to review the package, of how important Ephraim Shea was in our community, from donating the waterworks to the city, being one of the founders of what is now the Little Traverse Yacht Club, one of the original board members of what is now First Community Bank, and truly being a generous and philanthropic person in our community, which is how we exist. We are funded by all private donations. And thus far, we have spent about $177,000 of private community members' money in the restoration of the locomotive. So there's definitely an interest in investing in our history and preservation. We're in the middle of a $3 million campaign to restore the Shea House and to do upgrades on the museum building, which is city owned, but we are fully responsible for all the maintenance and the upkeep on that building. So again, private donors have gotten us to 2.6 million of our $3 million. So there's a vested interest in our community of hundreds of donors who have backed us and our efforts. And so has the city by allowing us to put the locomotive here. And I met with Rachel, gosh, maybe even in her first month of work here, which may have been my first month. And I've been working with her through the years on what her goals are as the Parks Director, when she stepped into position. And so I'm here today to present to you another opportunity to tell the story of our history and to bring the voice of Ephraim Shea alive in our community, and to finish the Shea Park history with this gem. There are about 115 remaining in the world, 26 which are actually on display, and ours is the only one being currently restored in the world. So these are not easy to get our hands on. Ephraim Shea retired here in Harbor Springs. We feel like his contribution to our community is worth celebrating. And that's a story we'd like to continue telling with this artifact in Shea Park. So I've included in the slideshow toward the end, I think about slide 26. These are some of the restoration photos that you can enjoy looking at. Students from the Industrial Arts Institute in Onaway have been a part of this, several of whom are from the Harbor Springs, Petoskey area. They are being led by volunteer project manager Tom Moran, who has invested in kind of over $115,000 of his time in leading them in his professional efforts. You can see we have taken the whole thing apart, the engine, all of it restored. We have sandblasted it and found brass components and have been able to restore those. We still have many tasks remaining. The largest one at this point is reassembly of the wooden cab. So we've had a wooden cab rebuilt, which was its original state. And that will need to be assembled and then of course delivery to Shea Park after site preparation. So there's a map on here that I have worked with Rachel and Luke on, and just noting that green space is something that's very important to our organization. I know the whole community. So doing a little bit of math, we have about a 3/4 acre site, and this footprint, as you see it, the larger square, which includes a pavilion that we do hope to continue fundraising. And we feel that the installation of a pavilion over the locomotive is imperative to the maintenance of it, keeping it looking sharp in the park for all. And it occupies still less than 4% of the green space of that particular park. So we're at 3.8% with the pavilion location. So I think that's just something that people would be interested in knowing. And I know that that was a goal that Rachel has always had in developing, yet still keeping green space. So the dimensions are shown as you see there. Again, those dimensions are the less than 4%. And then there's a couple samples of what that the grounds would look like. And moving further is the pavilion. We're working with a custom designer. There's endless ways we can go about this, but we'd also like to keep in mind that the depot located just down the railroad, we'd like to keep some of the architectural, at least consider matching that and keeping things similar. So we're just giving you some samples there of what we've presented to you in my first packet, and scale and what it might look like. The idea is that it should have great curb appeal and also be somewhat historical of significance. So it's not going to be a crude pole barn, just a picnic pavilion. It's a very intentional design. So I'm here today to present to you, as I presented to City Council, looking for their feedback and just wanted to revisit this project with you and hoping to get approval to move forward. We'd like to, our timeline would be to begin getting some bids and things, middle of July, and begin working with DPW on what they're able to do. I've met with Lucas. We're very aware of what's involved in the process. And in fact, the location that you see here was the location as was guided by the many meetings that I've had with Rachel and Lucas. And Rachel might want to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Lucas and I actually met today, and this is going off what Lucas gave Kristen, so what's on her presentation. Our thought was to move it south a little bit, and then it's not pictured on here. Lucas left for the day, but it would actually go to the west towards the sidewalk, about 6 feet as well, kind of tucking it more in that corner and less into the park. The inner square, I think, is really important to point out that that's the locomotive. So if the locomotive goes in August, that's the size we're looking at. The pavilion is still yet to truly be determined, but this is as large as it could be.
And the locomotive is 35 feet where the AHA is 50. The locomotive is denser, but the pavilion, while it will take up a larger footprint, you're not going to have the density. That's the, is the protection. So, I just would implore you all to realize that it is not a solid square or solid structure of by any means. And we did have cones set up out there before Lucas finished this drawing for us.
So this will go more toward the sidewalk and more toward the
Correct.
south?
It's gonna be more tucked in that corner than it shows in this visual.
You're not gonna be disturbing the trees? or-
No, Lucas measured to ensure the trees will be safe, even as they grow, they'll be safe.
And we're okay with underground utilities?
Yep.
Can I ask a question about an alternative? So having been there Saturday with a huge turnout for yoga early in the season, and I'm looking over at that proposed area, and I thought it's going to do two things. It's going to, reduce the space available. There were at least 60 people there, and probably it'll be 80 by 4th of July. And I know that's only seasonal, I realize that. But it's also going to obstruct the view into the park, where it would be, where people going down Bay Street or even down Judd maybe wouldn't see it as clearly, but into the park. So was it ever considered putting it in the northeastern corner of the park, kind of angled like the AHA is, but more towards Main Street, where that space doesn't get used as much because of the AHA is already there? So was there an issue with that? Because I did read Ally's letter and I understand her concerns about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
where-
yeah, I was gonna leave that for public comment, but yeah,
Right.
so, since you brought it up, I sent you all Ally Hill's letter in regards. From a parks department standpoint and the staff standpoint, we don't base decisions off one event. Usually
Sure.
that happens in a park. I feel like that's
Sure.
fair. We didn't do it with the playground, people adjust accordingly. We did talk today, Lucas and I, about that northeast corner, sorry, my directions. Yeah, northeast corner. The thought was with the pavilion then added, it's not gonna look very nice from a Main Street view, looking out.
Or from that new house?
Correct. Well, I don't wanna talk about neighbors. That opens a jar we don't need to open, but, the other thought we talked about, we did discuss the east side parallel to that property, and there's that line of trees there, and it just seems, you don't put a line of trees in and then put a structure behind it. It's a little awkward.
Knowing that trees can be moved.
Right, that seemed awkward, as well.
I'd like to respond to it too. And so Karen, yes, we have walked that park. We have looked at every angle in every corner. With all due respect, we're not known for our yoga history and certainly not in Shea Park. So I know Ally, she does a great program in her studio and in the park. But when you're coming down Main Street, when you see that locomotive, this is a worldwide phenomenon. It's far more interesting than the green space of the grass that you're gonna see. So I hope that others agree with me that what we're putting there is a showstopper and that it only enhances the green space, not distracts from it. So I appreciate wanting the space. And again, I'll go back to the 4%. It's only 4%. So I don't know how many yoga people can fit in 4%. But I really think that this is an attraction. It's not an obstruction to anybody's view. We know that Mr. Demmer is in support of our Shea Days. We will be in our 27th year of celebrating Ephraim Shea in that park this year. Ron Kurtz, who's with me, and was one of the founders. I have the locomotive committee chair, and I have trustees and LOCA committee people with me today who have been working not only to acquire it, but have done their own studies and certification in all things Shea locomotive. So this isn't just a regional attraction. This is going to bring people from all over our country to visit. So I hope that we can build that appreciation. And we really were just working directly with Lucas in keeping as much green space as we can, and Rachel's goal of developing an attractive park. And this is really the hot spot, the sweet spot for it being in the most appealing location.
The other thing Lucas and I liked about this location originally when she came in October was the sidewalk is right there. For accessibility, it makes the most sense. If you're gonna do a walking path, that's gonna be your shortest distance to build a walking path. And some cool features that aren't really what we're basing from a park sport standpoint, but some cool features why the Historical Society did choose this spot also is because their site for Shea is right here at the building. So they can see the locomotive from that. Again, I'm not saying base your decision off that, just a fun fact. Another
That gallery is designed with the hopes that that would be the location.
And-
we had to pick
and-
gallery, so.
And
So-
let me be really clear. I love the idea of
Yeah.
locomotive in the park. I don't have any concern about that. I think in yoga, I agree with you, Rachel, is not a reason to determine where things go. But I think what yoga has done exposed the use of the green space in the park.
Right.
Well,
So that's.
And we use it for Shea Days, so that was part of our consideration which was why just today at 1 o'clock, we were talking about
that's why we
knocking
pulled
it.
it back.
Rachel and I just met and even reworked the plan that we showed city council yesterday.
Yeah, cause
So that's, definitely an important aspect to us because we want to educate people. We want to use that park as a teaching park. And we want people to be able to move around both structures in full vision. And so again, just working with Lucas and Rachel, trying to have a consensual goal.
we also pulled it back because the shade trees. It'll have a pavilion eventually, which will give it shade naturally. It doesn't need that massive shade tree right next to it. So that's another reason Lucas and I kind of moved it back into the corner.
I mean, we'd like to think we're blocking the Irish's boat building and giving you a better view from Main Street. We didn't block the water, we put it in the other corner, so
Oh, that's pretty
it's
bad.
really, we have overthought this. So your feedback is helpful because we really have been there so frequently, so anybody's feedback is helpful.
Can I just say something?
So
Well,
I
let
think
the board discuss and then we'll go to public comment.
Well, I think that'll help moving it back in that corner a little bit more for sure.
Yeah,
That
I'd be in
will help.
favor of moving it
Yeah.
into the corner.
Right.
I would agree, and I think, we're all in favor of having it at the park and
Oh, for
excited
sure.
about it. And do you think we're all generally in favor of that location?
I was gonna say, I think that's a great location. I'm an elementary teacher up at Shea and this multiple grade levels do this as a field trip.
Yes.
And they walk that sidewalk and we go from the history museum down to the police department and we stop at this park to have snack, and adding the locomotive right there, I think would be perfect.
Kristen, can you speak to the pavilion? Is there gonna be, I'm looking at the drawing of, the tracks underneath. Is there gonna be a concrete pad underneath? Or is it just gonna be the tracks?
Well, so we're again working closely with Lucas, working with the parts that we had. When we brought the train back from Nagadocious, we were able to bring back some train tracks with us, and then the students rebuilt the track. So the plan is to put those tracks in ballast gravel and then to frame that in with the concrete pad. We're really thinking a lot about accessibility. And so that there's some details like that to come because that requires meeting with Lucas. I've talked with Cups a little bit today about getting just some costing ideas. And I'm really leaving a lot of that up to DPW to guide us in what is best for their maintenance, mowing. You know, I just want it to be successful for everyone. So we have options, but the idea is to keep the gravel inside the track and surrounded with a concrete.
What, oh,
I was gonna say, I would just hope that we get conversation for the future, once everything's settled in, is that we can talk about how do we get a pathway there to make it mostly accessible for all.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that would be one thought I'd have is, you know, we're plunking things in this park here without really having an overall master plan.
Yeah.
How they're going to tie together and
Right.
is it just gonna, like, how long are we gonna keep putting things in? Is it gonna look junky? Right.
And that has been my conversation with Rachel since for 5 years ago. Where we were, you know, what are your goals? We talked about a pathway a couple times now. I don't see anything more of Ephraim Chase popping up. However, I would like to see the story of the
Yeah.
park told with
Interpretive
some more
stuff.
interpretive panels. The waterworks were designed there, the boat was designed there. And so I think there's an opportunity for some more interpretive panels, but nothing of this footprint.
Kristen, I know you said yesterday to council, but I apologize, I don't remember, what's the timeline if you were to guess for the pavilion?
Less than 2 years, and it's the final notes of this slide. Our goal is less than 2 years. We are within $50,000 of raising that money. And so we don't wish it to sit there without a pavilion for any length of time.
I do have a comment about the pavilion. It looks really cool to see it there. I feel like it will dwarf the locomotive to where the pavilion becomes more of a presence in the park than the locomotive will. And I don't know what you do about that, or maybe the pavilion could be smaller. And
Well,
take up less space
The
and
pavilion
not be
needs
so
to,
dominating.
it needs to be in proportion with the train itself. So, I mean, I'd be
I guess
inclined to
that's what
want
I'm
to take you
saying.
on a field trip to like Cadillac to see their locomotive, which is under pavilion. So I could provide you with more
Pictures.
pictures
Sure.
and so that you can see the scale of how the pavilion wraps and shelters the locomotive.
Like you're talking about seeing it from Main Street, but you know, is this structure gonna be so big and it's so tiny inside the structure
Yeah, I
that
don't
you're gonna see the structure?
So, but
You should go back to the slide.
I was like,
Shows the pavilion over the locomotive. And Dana, you,
we were pulling up pictures of Cadillacs for her to show her there.
Yeah, it's pretty traditional to see the locomotive.
So,
so Dana, the pavilion has a walkway around it that's covered for rain. And it's about 8 feet all the way around. That's why that spacing looks like it
The
does.
size that
But
it
it won't
is.
dominate the locomotive. It's not that much taller above it.
But it gives you room, if you were bringing down and doing a teaching, you can come under the pavilion and out of the elements.
Well, the pictures that we're looking
So-
at here, yeah,
Yeah.
it just seems like the pitch of the roof is less and maybe not just quite. And maybe those were just examples you were showing, not actual designs, but I would say whoever you're working with, just to try and minimize the.
Yeah, well, we're working with a lot of shade displays around the country.
Mhm.
We have done a lot of research with other locomotive owners, how they're displayed. And I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to say to this.
Well, I would like to say that
Okay, Ron, this is Ron Kurtz.
the pavilion has to be big enough to keep the weather off most of the shade. In a wind, a driving rain, that pavilion would not protect all of the locomotives, so it's a compromise. That picture shows 6 posts on either side of it. On the other pictures of a pavilion that we have, especially the one with the arched, that one on the right, that's quite open. And you'd be able to see the locomotive in there very easily. And as far as moving it one way or another, when you look at the topographical photograph of the layout, there are some small trees in there that are not going to be small forever. They're going to be as big as the other 2 bigger trees that are already there. So you sort of have to keep that in mind as far as how much you move it around. But as far as the pavilion is concerned, it's open enough so that you can see it. But its main purpose is to keep the rain and snow off and preserve the woodwork.
So that's a primary objective of the pavilion is protection of the
Yes,
locomotive.
most definitely.
And then, but you also talked about having the opportunity to kind of walk around it with a
Yeah.
class of kids or whatever, so.
Okay.
And that extended maybe the perimeter a little bit more because.
It
of
did,
that.
it kind of evolved with some discussion with Lucas
It
and moving,
includes that though.
yeah.
So this square includes that perimeter. Yeah,
Correct.
okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
be clear that.
And just looking at water pipes and what needs to be moved and kind of what made sense for the work that he needed to do also.
Can I just add to that, Chris?
Sure.
We're only moving sprinklers.
Right,
There's
yeah,
no big water pipes to move.
right.
And Lucas said that's a very easy thing for him.
So we stayed in those kind of criteria.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yep, that's okay. I guess Rachel and I briefly touched on this, but like those small trees that were planted recently between Bay Street and where the pavilion would be. I just like, maybe this is the time to move them if we're going to move them so that, you know, you just have a clear view of the pavilion and what's inside. And then I also think that, could you show the site plan again, Rachel, or the aerial? I felt like that row of trees that's in like 30 feet from the Demers property is odd. And not very naturalistic looking, and it does cut into that big open space. So if we're taking that corner and it's not gonna be so usable for yoga anymore, maybe we wanna move those trees while they're still young, closer to the property line to open things up a little bit.
Up for you guys to discuss.
Now we're not looking to add to the scope of this project a lot.
I mean, is that feasible?
It is.
Okay, I mean, as long as like it's feasible for us to do, I don't.
DPW will not be thrilled,
Right.
but
Well-
it's, yeah, is it possible? Yeah. You can move any tree, technically.
So are you trying to minimize the footprint? Is that?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to keep as much open
Right.
space open.
Right.
as
So
we
Dana,
can.
are you wanting those 2 trees that would be behind the locomotive?
I'm just
moved
wondering if it would
with
make
those?
sense to move them and then just kind of open things up around the locomotive a little bit more, because we're gonna have the posts for the pavilion and then the tree trunks, and if it's just gonna get too busy down there.
I think it's great.
I'd be in favor of moving the trees.
I mean, I think all we need to say is like, we're okay with it, it doesn't mean they're gonna be moved. But
Yeah.
I
Right.
can't technically even make that decision, so.
May I ask one other question? The pictures for the Cadillac one have lighting underneath it. Is that
Yeah.
something that's been discussed? for-
We haven't at this work, we have not evolved there yet, but that is something that I think we need to get to, but
looks
we're
really
just.
nice.
It looks neat.
Yeah, it looks really
Yeah,
cool.
the evolution of that, whether it's solar, which originally we had discussed even for the AHA. So I feel like that's a separate conversation eventually with Rachel as we get to a point where it makes more sense
Yeah.
of knowing what it would involve. But yeah.
Is
same
there
here.
lighting on the AHA right now?
No, there's
Okay.
not, but we had solar, we had
Ideas.
some solar lighting ideas. So.
I have another question about potential sidewalks and interpretive stuff. So you guys would cover the interpretive stuff.
Mhm.
Were you also envisioning covering the cost of the sidewalks?
Not at this time, not as a part of this phase. Part of the accessibility where it's at now is similar to the AHA and getting to the AHA. So that is not in our plan. I feel like I didn't really envision that as my part of going that far into the parks plan. But like I said, we have had a discussion about connecting the two and somehow connecting it over to the Shea House. So I certainly would like to be a part of that discussion, but that's not part of our restoration project.
I guess what I'm hearing is moving into the further south and west towards the corner, moving the trees and maybe minimizing the footprint if possible. Just with the-
Yeah, but we need to make sure that those trees aren't removed. We're still okay with it.
Right.
Only do
Right,
that.
understand.
Yeah, only because I can't personally make that decision. So I just want to make sure that everyone's okay with it or without the trees. So, but yeah, if we could remove them and that works, we could relocate them somewhere. We can push it even, that's appropriate too. So.
Are there any other thoughts or questions before we make a motion?
You have public comment. if you have
Right,
any.
okay. Anybody else from the board though? Want to add anything else?
I don't think so.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking of it from an artistic standpoint and having it where you're talking about with the trees around it would be a wonderful coupling as artistically. And it would work in the whole space as, I think it would be very artistic. I think it needs to be near the trees because it's a grouping that would be very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Good, should we try and put a motion together?
I'll make a motion to approve the site location with 6 feet west and 6 feet south as described during the meeting here.
I think we should leave measurements out.
Okay.
Only because that's too specific. If something for any reason needs to change, we're gonna be held to those.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to go back, it'll be a thing, so,
So I'll make a motion to approve the location,
correct, the general location.
the general location for the Shayla Collins.
Southwest corner, yeah.
Okay, I'll second. All those in favor?
Let's do a roll call, and this is going to council.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
Yes. Karen, Scott.
Yes.
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 Yes, Sarah.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Well, thank you all, and I know things simmer and ideas come up. I'm always available at the museum to answer any questions or other thoughts that come up, or call and check in on the progress. And if you know anyone that's interested in being part of the project, we'd love to hear more about it. I know it's a big deal for us, it's a big deal for the community, and it's a really big deal that we put an AHA and a locomotive in the park in this short period of time. But we thank you for having the confidence in us and building the history of our community and just trying to pass that on to future generations.
Kristen, I just have one more question going forward. Is it the responsibility then of the Historic Society to maintain the
Yeah.
pavilion and?
Yeah, so I spoke to her about today. We'll probably have like a formal one-page agreement that says that, just like we've worked with the schools and the Little League. The only other department request, just so we don't hold up when the pavilion is ready, maybe bring that to the Parks Board like 3 months, like once the designs are going, just so we have a couple meetings. Cause it seems like the pavilion was the biggest thing we spoke about. I would just hate to hold up
Some
that
more
process.
details.
Yeah, I just wouldn't wanna hold up that process, so
Yeah.
once we start designing, bring it slowly to us and do that, I have multiple meetings. Cool.
Great.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you,
work.
thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
It'll be great. Okay.
I've got work to do, so I'm.
You got
Trained to.
So, bye, thank you.
I know I walked in and I was like, where?
Thank you.
I thought we were in
Rachel,
trouble.
let's move on to the calendar.
Yeah. It's like,
Priorities, hold on. Yeah, thank you.
Never had so many nice.
Thank you. I'll be at the tree board.
You're welcome
meeting,
to
too.
stay, like-
I'll be at the tree board meeting too, so I'll see you there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Rachel, it's nice to meet you.
Nice
I'm
to
Barbara
meet
Lapham.
Nice to meet you.
And could you come up to our little park area and take a look at it?
Yes, I will.
Oh, good.
I will tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we thought halfway through the year, this might be a good time to look at the calendar and see what we want to work on the rest of the
Did
year.
anyone read that? Is my first question.
I have it on my.
Like, okay, everyone has.
Does everybody have
Packet.
it? Okay, everybody has it in the packet, is that right? Yep. And actually, you don't have the updated one though, right? So I just sent this, yeah, so I did make some changes. One thing I did that I thought may or may not be useful down the road is I went through the minutes for every meeting in the agenda and jotted down what we worked on. So if we ever have to go back and try and find more detail and know what month to look in.
This is not what we got in our packet. This has been expanded. some.
Yeah, this has been expanded, and I can just read through. So, up through May, I just added the things that we have worked on at each meeting. Okay, and then in June, we have Shea Locomotive, ribbon cuttings, begin discussion of board fundraising. And then over in the things we might do every year, this might be a good month to update the calendar. Then moving to July, and all of this can change as it did in the first half of the year. More on the Shea Locomotive or not, I wasn't sure if it was going to carry over from
I'm
the
in.
meeting, but I think we're all set.
I'll
for
take it
now.
off. Is that okay?
Yeah, take that off. Then I don't know if we'll have an architect at that point, Rachel, whether he would come to talk to us about what we're looking for. So that's kind of a TBD on Kiwanis, right? So that, I guess we're gonna talk about the RFP that's going out
For July you're talking about, or August?
for July.
Okay.
Yeah. And then more talking about the boardwalk and what we want to do to try and get some money for that. Then in August, all the things stay the same over on the left, which is time to talk about CIP projects, 3 things from the project list to talk about for the next year budget. Things to talk about for the grant cycle for the foundation. And then beginning Fall Fest, and then also in August, I'm sure we'll be having more discussions on Kiwanis as he starts to get drawings, he or she. And then more on the boardwalk. And then in September, same thing, finalize Fall Fest, approve the CIP list, probably more on Kiwanis, and then maybe at that point, we might feel like we're ready to get back into talking about Harbor View. We're suddenly having the feeling that we had a bunch of too many things going on.
Too many things going on at once. So we just toned it down a little.
And then we can just kind of leave it loosey-goosey to see what we need to work on at the tail end of the year. Any thoughts, suggestions?
I think since the Kiwanis stuff is kind of up in the air, we can't really like nail it down to when we're
No,
gonna.
we can't. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of as it comes.
Do we
And
need,
Rachel's gonna talk about the RFP and the timing of that too. So.
Tonight, we're gonna learn more about Kiwanis tonight. I missed the
Yeah.
last. meeting.
Yeah, I'll do like a little
Okay.
revamp of the director's report. Yeah.
So are we all in favor of this or any other changes or anything? Okay,
Good.
by consensus?
Well, I'll be quick.
Yeah, let's blaze through the rest of it. Okay, old business. Rachel, skate park ribbon cutting.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so all the landscaping is done, except for the fence. I know, still needs to go on in 119. DPW has like a list 5 miles long from me. So DPW is gonna provide the grill. They'll drop it off like the day before. I'll run to Gordon's. My question for Gordon's is, are we guessing how many people are gonna show up? Like, what are we thinking, like 100? Am I buying hot dogs for 150, 200? I honestly have no idea.
I would guess at least 100.
Yeah, I'm thinking at least 100.
Well, at least 100.
And I'm thinking like 200 and then like their hot dogs, we'll use them for something else, like freeze them.
And use them for, yeah.
I'd be for that. yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna plan on 200 people, cause I can like work around
And
that.
Rachel, that seems like obvious, but we'll make sure that we have a full propane tank, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
And then Bill Mulder is gonna be our griller, so that's perfect. We'll have extra tables, extra trash receptacles. The new tables should be here by then, hopefully, and umbrellas. The chamber will be present with the ribbon and the scissors. And then Dana is working on poster boards, which we can go through real quick if we want. And then folding tables and tablecloths. So it's gonna be a fairly simple, we're trying to keep it simple, because most people are gonna be skating.
Talked to you at one point, I think in our last meeting, we're gonna reach out to the company that built it to see if
They're coming.
they are.
Yeah, Catherine's coming.
Great.
Oh, good. I thought they said they couldn't.
Billy can't come, but she can, so she's gonna fly in for it.
Fantastic.
Great.
And I think it'd be cool to have like people doing tricks too. I was talking
Yeah.
to Trevor Vandenbrink about it and he's like,
Yeah.
my wrist is healed, I'll do it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so we're getting the word out. I put it in the Harbor Light for 2 weeks. I contacted the News Review. I haven't heard back, but I have a different contact for them, so I can reach out. I'm gonna reach out to a radio station now that it's like the week before. And then, it's posted. Scott went and passed out flyers everywhere. Council knows. I think most of council plans on being in attendance. The planning, all the boards know. The boulder is there for the plaque for the donors. I really hope that the plaque is done in time. It was a really, really close call because they're making it in Traverse City. But I will be in Traverse City this weekend, so I'm gonna try and like pick it up while I'm there if it's finished.
Call them every day.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I'm doing. Guys, that's gonna be. And then,
I just want to confirm too, so we're gonna have a table for Harbor Way.
yeah, so Harbor Way has, they're gonna borrow a 10x10 tent from Park,
Okay.
because we have 2. I already have a poster board made for them. It's just gonna be Doug Fuller from Harbor Inc. And he's just gonna give, like, he's not gonna like intrude on our event. It's not gonna be like a money or anything like that. It's just saying, you know, one, why we don't have irrigation on the side of the park and why the grass is taking a long time to grow in there. And also just the plan for the wheelway to kind of get the word out, so.
And then we're gonna have another table and tent or no tent for parks.
We can do a tent or not a tent, whatever we wanna do. So, we have 2 of them, so.
Are you gonna do the presentation, the ribbon cutting?
I don't have a need to cut the ribbon. I've assumed someone in your family would want to cut it, and then maybe Catherine would want to cut it, and then if a council member wants to cut it, I don't know if the mayor will be there. It's 5 to 7 on a Wednesday, so I don't know.
He said he's gonna be.
Okay, yeah.
I think you
Be
should
there.
have some words, so it shouldn't be fun. I think it should be you.
No, I can speak. Yeah, I plan on
Just
speaking, but I don't have a
introduce-
need to cut the ribbon if
No.
other people wanna do it, yeah. So,
We'll get Catherine and maybe somebody,
yeah.
maybe me,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, someone in your family,
Yeah.
Catherine seems appropriate, and then the mayor, he doesn't mind either way, so just someone from your family, Catherine wanna do
you know, my
it.
daughter too.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna do a quick little speech about the main donors that helped make the project possible, a little spiel on Ted, and Catherine and how the project kind of came to be, and I'll be it.
Okay,
2
We're
hours.
gonna have her good
I know
weather.
that
Yeah.
neither of these events are like a money grab, but I think that we should be prepared to have some kind of donation box available because,
So there
It
are
gets
2 donation
awkward.
boxes already at the park.
okay,
And then Dana has, which we have like a lockbox donation
Yeah.
box too that we take to different events, and Dana has created a needs poster board, and it's like benches, tables,
Perfect.
basketball hoops, basketballs, and that, so it has like an array of things on different price points. You can donate something for $30, you can donate something for $2,500, like it just kinda.
So one of us should be prepared to sit at that table. We
Yeah.
can just decide.
And whoever does sit at that table, I'd like to speak to you, because some of the costs are approximate, because rate changes, prices change. So they're not, unless we have like a policy form that says this costs this, or it's a basketball, and I can guess.
Do you
Like,
need one or two volunteers, like student volunteers, or do you think it's fine?
We could also take shifts too.
I think we'll be okay.
It's-
Yeah,
Because I
2 hours, so.
will only be there for a brief
Yeah.
moment, so.
It's only 2 hours. I'll
Yeah,
go to that.
so it should be.
You wanna sit at the parks table?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
Can we get some yard signs with our QR code there?
Yep,
Yeah, I'm supposed to be working on those two, right?
yes. I gave all signage and poster boards to Deanna.
Okay.
I'm all over it here.
Can you repost it too on all
Yeah.
the social, cause I don't think that I've seen,
Okay.
besides the first thing that came out.
No, I think you did it on Facebook once and I did it on Instagram once.
I did it on Facebook again, so I did the save the date, and then I did them last week.
I'll add to
I can't
Instagram.
remember.
I'll put it on
I'll
our
do it
stories
again,
too.
yeah.
I was just gonna say.
I'll tag like the chamber and stuff like that to see if they'll reshare it on theirs.
Yeah, and I invited the
Can we
Rotary
do it
Club,
again on the weekend, maybe?
because we got a grant through them, the foundation will be there, because obviously we got a lot of donations through them. And Boyne Highlands,
Are you gonna call Sandy Baker?
yeah, and Sandy Baker.
The chamber posts on their social media accounts about some of our stuff, so maybe they could post about both of these, cause they have a much bigger following than we do.
And is it possible to have a student volunteer or somebody just take lots of photos and videos from the event?
Yeah.
And
Great
then
idea.
that could be something that's put on our accounts too, just to keep, I bet you there's somebody
There'll be a
interested.
staff person there too, so we can ask them, like an actual, the skate park staff.
I can
I'm
help.
sorry, hold on, I'm trying
We
to
just
think
have
of,
to-
what was that before the Petoskey Chamber? What were we talking
Have our
about?
chamber posting and then yard signs.
I can help during the day too, when they're set up there. I'm gonna be able during the ceremony though.
The chamber does a weekly email too, so if you are already in that, maybe that.
The Harbor Springs Chamber?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bonnie has it,
Okay.
so it's out in hers. There's something else.
We put all the events on that every week. Well.
Hmm?
But they put all the events
Yeah.
every week on it. Now, one thing we had talked about in the past was, money, donations that could be made by people who come to the park to use the skate park. In part to pay for some of the staffing. So is that part, can that be part of the conversation we have about donations?
So there are donation boxes at the park, there's one in the hallway, the restrooms, and then there's
Right.
one, and then there are little signs posted. For
There's a
people to do
public
their
poster
donations,
for
yep,
that.
and then every week I do the deposit from the concessions, the rentals and the donations, and I'm keeping track of it, cause I think we talked about that
Okay.
last time, of where we end up versus what we paid for staff.
What are we getting in money so far? Do you know?
A lot, like I think we've brought in a couple hundred, like concessions, I think in total,
What do we rent at the skate park?
scooters and helmets and pads.
What about
And skateboards.
pickleball? People have asked me, do we?
Yeah, they have extra, but we don't like, I don't think we charge for that, like paddles and balls. Most pickleball players take their own.
But people have asked me if
Yeah,
they're,
but it is in there,
Can
yeah.
ask.
If it's staff's there 2 to 7.
Right.
Otherwise it's locked away.
Right.
so.
okay, good.
While I'm thinking about it, I have one folding table, one 6-foot table, and one 4-foot table. Who else has,
Yeah, I have 3 folding 6-foot tables.
Karen, 3? So we need,
So we need one for the Harbor Way,
one for
one for
parks,
parks, one for food.
I have a plastic 8, but
I would say 4 and 5 to be safe.
4, 5,
Cause you
yeah.
always need one more.
So
than
you
two.
got, okay, I have 2, you have 3,
I have
so I
3.
think we should be good, yeah, okay.
So I'll need to bring them to the
I'll help
event
you with the
then.
setup for that.
Yeah, and Karen, I can pick them up from your house too in the parks truck.
They're up at my office.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
I can-
too. Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
usually sometimes do with Deanna, is I just show up in the
Okay.
parks truck and grab it.
Just tell me when you want to do it and I'll make
Cool.
sure to be there.
And then, Rachel, what did we decide on tablecloths? I can bring my 3 blue ones, or should we actually
Let's just
just?
buy some.
And should we buy maybe like vinyl coated ones that we can wipe off so we aren't having
Yeah,
to?
that's fine. I trust your
And
judgment.
should I just send you a link so you can pay for them?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll probably get them.
Or you're welcome to look too, or if you want me to do it.
You want just plain white ones?
I'll do
I
plain.
might know a place. with white tablecloths. I'm sure we could donate a couple tablecloths if you want to borrow some.
Oh, where would that be, Jeannie?
Just let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
We have plenty.
Are they for square tables or round tables?
Square.
Square, yeah.
Music?
Yeah, speaker system. I'm just gonna hook up my kid-friendly playlist.
Perfect.
Yep.
And then
Make sure it's kid-friendly.
are the staff taking pictures and videos, or should we ask Sophia to find a student?
I'll ask Sophia.
Okay.
Staff would do
You're
it,
asking
but yeah, I'll ask Sophia. Great.
I think it would
And,
be good to have somebody that's like
We actually had the gentleman who used to
dedicated to
work-
that task.
Yeah, there's someone who used to work at the skate park. He actually, I hired him and he took a bunch of pictures of all of our parks like 2 years ago. I may get a hold of him, cause he has like an actual business. He's like a college student now, but he did a really great job. He came to Fall Fest too, 1 year and took photos.
Rachel, do we have a microphone and speaker? Cause that's a problem at just about every one of our events.
Yeah, I'll find one. Microphone.
And then should Bill and I bring grilling utensils then?
No, I'll bring some. Okay.
And then, we don't have banners for, no, and we're not going to.
No, I'm gonna hang up that one for the contractors, not the blessing of the fleet, and ours is down. I'll go hang it up on the fence line over those boxwoods.
Do you guys wanna look at the posters real quick?
And where those gonna sit, the posters, where they gonna actually be?
I think, they could be by the parks table, or they could be, by the building on the patio.
They'll
And
be
then
used just for that.
easels, Rachel, easels
Yeah,
for
we'll
those.
need lots of easels.
Yes. And I'll bring painter's tape to tape them onto the easels.
Those will be just used that night.
Well, I think we would use them for both ribbon cuttings and then whatever else yeah, I guess.
Like this might be nice to just leave up
leave
in the
it.
building somewhere, you know, when
that's what I
staff
was
is there and stuff. Yeah, I would probably just leave it,
Yeah, that would be nice.
tack it to the wall or something like that.
It's that one, then there's the wish list.
Gotta find it, hold on.
How big is this?
What are they? Are they 24 by 36?
Okay.
I don't know if I have the wish list. Thought I saved it. I have the priorities. I don't think I have the wish list up, sorry.
Well, does the donations include like use of the skate park? We're encouraging people to donate when they come use
Yeah.
the skate park, okay? And just a kind of an aside question, did anybody push back on the hours that we were gonna be staffed? I did notice on the rules that you did not say they had to be a certain age to come by themselves.
Mm-mm.
Good.
I know we had discussed 12 and under, but
You got
I
some
mean, people
pushback
leave
on
like
that.
their 10-year-olds there and it's just kind of hard, like, I mean, you can ask how old
Right.
people are, but
Yeah,
really up to parent discretion,
yeah, that's good.
so.
There's no way to.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have the parks project list? The priority?
Yes, I have that.
So this is reorganized a bit. It's what we've been working from now. Just so it's easier to read on what we've gotten done, what's underway. What's still coming up this year.
And just to touch on the donations one that Dana made, it's like by park. So it'll say like skate park, how many benches you need, the price, things like that, and then it's, Zorn Beach. And then we just figured give like 3 main parks and give them some options, and that way it's not overly confusing.
And then, my thought is that we don't put a wish list for every single park where there's one bench here, whatever. And maybe right now we focus on the skate park, Harborview Park and City Beach. Does that sound good? Can pass us around.
And
Rather
Kiwanis
than-
is separate from that?
What's that?
Kiwanis is separate from that?
Yeah, because we don't really know what we need yet, right?
I'll touch on Kiwanis heavily in the director's report, and get you back up to,
Okay.
everyone up to speed, it's about a minute.
Are we in good shape, do you think?
Yeah.
then? And then the beach one, anything else on the?
Yeah, it's like any event, the day before is gonna be chaos, and we'll come together.
So the beach ribbon cutting, though, we don't need to talk about that, really.
So it's, yeah, so the beach ribbon cutting is 12 to 1. I put specifically on that flyer, the ribbon cutting is at 12, because really once that's done, we're not doing anything. But Harbor Ice Cream Soup and Sandwiches is doing $2 kids swirl cones. So that's cool. So that'll be 12 to 1. So we'll kind of announce that, cut the ribbon and. call it a
You need
day.
any help?
We
Bonnie will be
have
there too.
the cloth kids and the McLean kids on
Yeah.
board for that one.
Are they gonna cut the ribbon? Okay.
See, so
Okay.
They're
So I'll
very
make sure to get a
excited.
photo of that. Yeah, so I'll make sure to get a photo of that and that's it.
I have prices now.
Will the swings be in by then?
Hmm.
Will the swing set be in by then?
Should be in next week, but I don't know for sure.
You're really gonna have them in before this event?
No, but this
Okay.
event's Saturday.
Yeah, this event's Saturday, so I don't think. they'll
Yeah,
be-
Yeah, this Saturday, right?
But yeah.
While we're talking about the playground, can we potentially put the shade things up?
Purchase the.
Oh, I
shade
thought
thing.
there was leftovers from the skate park.
No, those have to be professionally installed.
Okay.
With poles.
Just maybe something to keep on our radar.
Yeah, so we have realized that we can add it as an agenda item if we want. I don't wanna get, just because it's not an agenda item right now, but the turf gets warm. Hot is actually the correct term.
Warmer
Turf gets hot,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Which we were hoping wasn't gonna happen.
yeah, I drove by at like 3:30 today, but it was cloudy and like, that's like when the sprinkles came through and there were like 15 kids on it. But again, it was sprinkling and I think it cools and heats very
That used to be a fun game, don't step in the lava.
I texted Rachel
That's
yesterday, I
what
was
I
like, my
think
kids
you're
literally play, the floor is lava.
recently, and like this week, I thought for sure, and I talked to the lifeguards and they haven't had any comments on
Are they
it.
hosing it down or?
I mean, the sprinkler, not the sprinkler system, but the hose lines are there and I'm sure they hit it in some spots, but not all of it. But there's only so, I mean,
Could they just take a hose and spray it down?
yeah, I mean, they can go day, but that's only gonna help. As soon as it dries off, it gets hot again. I thought that would help.
By the way, guys, kudos to the lifeguards. I was down there last week and I saw a baby almost drown.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And they just went streaking out there and the parents were like oblivious, so that's scary.
I was down there 10 this morning with Miles, my grandson, and it was busy already.
Yeah, it's been.
There were
really
like 6
busy.
little kids on the.
You can't find parking down there once it's 11
I
AM.
got the last spot.
I just give up.
Yeah.
I throw my truck light on and just park where I want.
Professional.
We want truck lights. Okay, let's see if we have nobody to comment, so director's report.
Well, sorry, let me get to it. Somewhere.
Let me pass it to Karen.
Sure. I didn't know.
So one thing I wanna add to the director's report is
Update, right?
Victor has asked if I'm interested in doing the Little Traverse Leaders Program. And it's September through May. I have to apply, so I don't know if I'll get chosen. But it's every third Tuesday. It's from 8 to 5, which means we wouldn't be able to meet at 5:30. So I'm basically asking permission from the Parks Board to either move our meeting times to 6. Just for those months, we can go right back to 5:30 once the program's done. Or if we wanna do a different day, if 6 doesn't work, but.
Can you get here by 6?
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that's a long day for you if you wanna.
No, I can get here by 6, I'm not worried about that. But I have to go to each day, like I don't, like that's mandatory, so.
I think that's fine.
I think we need to support you in that. Caitlin did that program and it was phenomenal for her. So I would love to support you. doing that.
Congratulations, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Right.
So I'll let you know, I've had the application in by July 15th, so we won't make it official until. I know I'm doing it, but I just wanna make sure everyone's on board with changing the meeting, just the times for those months.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. So the Kiwanis, request for proposal, RFP, went to council. They approved it. There really wasn't a discussion. Victor's gonna post it tomorrow. So if anyone knows any local, non-local, any architects, and you wanna reach out to them and say, hey, this RFP is going out, that's appropriate. Please do so. Once we get, hoping we get a bid on an architect, it'll go to Parks Board. I believe we discussed, but council ultimately decides who the architect will be. I'm sure we can give a recommendation, but they'll ultimately decide. And then, we will work closely with the architect and look on next steps for the project. The grant again is for $523,000, some change, a little off.
Is it grant or donation?
It's a donation, but the foundation calls it a grant.
Okay.
Yeah, they call them all grants.
Right.
It's through the Mary Claire Reynolds Fund, it's not anonymous.
You can
So
put it,
feel free.
I'll send it out.
And what else was I gonna say with it? Oh, the disc golf course. So in our scope, I didn't add anything on the RFP when it comes to trail and the disc golf course. Reason being, is Trevor Vanderbrink and I, mostly Trevor, have been working really diligently to get, some sponsors. So like each person, like each business would sponsor a hole for a certain amount of years, for a certain amount of money. And people are like way on board with
That
it.
is such a good idea.
So we basically have the back nine funded.
Awesome.
So
So-
is it $500 for 5 years? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we might even, that's not a firm. I'm waiting for cops to give a quote.
That's
It
what
might
I
even be,
heard.
it won't be higher than that. But yeah, right now
And
it's
you pay
500,
500?
years.
And your name's up there for 5 years?
So basically what I'm telling people is you pay for the T-pad, we'll pay for the sign.
So
That's the
Cubs is
trade-off.
gonna pour it.
Yeah, Cups will likely pour it, but I have, the disc golf community is willing to do all the labor. Cause usually just pour them right in place, right there with the form. So we'll do it likely this summer in early morning. Get that done. It's only 7 T-pads. It's not the entire back 9. And then we'll order signage and then in the corner of each sign with the map will be that logo, sticker. And then we just, every 5 years, either keep it or add a different business to it. The outfitter is now gonna sell discs, so that's super
That's
cool.
awesome.
Good.
So yeah, so that's the reason it's on the RFP. I don't want anyone to think we didn't care about the disc golf course. It's just we have different plans. It's not a super expensive project to do that back 9, so it didn't really make sense.
Can we see a list of the sponsors?
No, only because it's not finalized yet, but it's mostly local businesses.
Now, the grant focuses kind of on the building, but is there any conversation about improving the walking trails with signage? Widening them in some cases, separating them more from the disc golf, so we actually have confirmed hiking trails? in
So
the
there's
park?
nothing in the grant. So the RFP is for the building, deck, windows, the restrooms, sewer, and kitchen. Only because you may be done right there.
Mhm.
And that is what we've always deemed is the most important aspect. And then as alternatives for whatever's left or what we can play with is a playground update. I left it very vague as a playground update, because that could mean taking equipment out, putting equipment in, doing whatever you're gonna do. And then the other alternative is an outdoor rec ice rink. And I was very specific with that, because Dan and I had spoken, we didn't want anyone to get the idea of like some massive arena or something like that, to investigate. But then the trails, when we do that, when we update the disc golf course, we can work on the trails.
So we can work on it. I
Yeah.
really want to make that
Yeah.
part of.
That'll
what
be
we're
part
doing.
of the trail signage when we do the disc golf course, yeah.
We'll need to separate them along the way in some cases. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that's.
I'd like to bring something else up too. Rachel and I have talked about this a few times and she is not very positive about the prospects of this happening, but I just feel like it would be really great and important to have the city partner with us on this. Like, they paid for the windows at the skate park building. I think it'd be really nice if they paid for the windows at Kiwanis. Like, why pay for one but not the other? Councilperson Melky.
What do you think?
I can't answer that.
I can, it's because they won't, so.
I can go back to that conversation. It's not necessarily a council. Council would take the recommendation of Victor and Nick, but I don't think council would make that decision.
So it's more of, in the CIP, we had Kiwanis renovation as a capital improvement project, and it was clearly under grants and donations, and that was for 350,000. Well, we got 523. So if we go to council and we say it was money for that, I mean, they're gonna look at us like, no offense.
Well, I guess let's.
You're outside your mind, but
Nick's
if we.
recommendation likely.
What I
and
do
he
wanna say
probably
though
just-
is, with what Dan is saying, is I do agree, when we get far in and an architect has looked at it and engineers looked at it, and we hit a hiccup, I'd like to save that request for then, for when we need
Yeah.
those funds. If that makes sense, like, if we're gonna do a request, I want it to be when like, we're in a,
Like
oh
they-
no moment.
They've done the Evermaster building, you know, it could come in more than.
Yeah,
we got.
so I'd like to wait till we have more information to ask. I just don't think we have enough to lean on to get that. I'd like it to be more of a, we're in this situation, these are all the projects we've done where we have gotten donations and gotten this far, like, I need this extra push to get us there. I think it'll be an easier sell.
I agree.
Tough my political opinion.
Oh, and we got another grant too, right?
Hmm?
We did.
Possibly, we have, yeah, maybe another couple other donors, actually a couple. We also had, and I got it after I did this, but the Off-Field Foundation donated 25,000 to the Wheelway,
Oh, that's nice.
so. Woo-hoo. Any other questions on Kiwanis? Good. DPW already went through the M119 fence, playground project is completed in full, lifeguards have started work. They're gonna be staffing the beach 7 days a week, 10 to 6, weather permitting. Skate park staff have started 7 days a week, 2 to 7, weather permitting. We're working to get the ramp, I already went through that. Oh, the recycling receptacles are here. They were delivered, so Trevor, Rob and I are gonna work next week on getting them to the parks. And getting that system going. The dumpster's already at DPW, so really we're good to go.
And you'd have a system on who empties them when.
Yep, it's just gonna be us doing trash. When we do trash, we'll empty those, as needed. And then the two picnic tables and the 6 umbrellas should be delivered any day now, hopefully before the ribbon cutting at the skate park. And then you all saw the pickleball clinics. I had a lot of calls asking for pickleball clinics. Mark's amazing at what he does. He was already doing some stuff up there
He's
for
up there
us.
today, yeah.
Yeah,
There today.
it's packed. I haven't had any calls or complaints so far about utilizing the courts in that way. He sticks to one court, all of his lessons, all of his private lessons, we get a percentage of that, to be clear. They have to be Tuesday or Thursdays and they have to be during the day, like the hot peak hours where usually the public isn't going to play. And then the clinics, he just does Tuesday and Thursdays before his private lessons, so. And he can only use one court for his private lessons, obviously, you can't take up 2 of them, but it's been working well so far.
Is there a scheduling system or is it just like you show up and you stand in line and you wait?
So,
Is
yeah,
that
so,
like the norm? if
so
we
there's
have
a rack where you put, and it depends on where you play, and I'm not a pickleball player, so I can't speak to it. So, for instance, on our website, we have open hours, and that's saying it's open for play, because when we first put them in, people were coming, and they were like, I have no one to play with. When are your open hours, so I can find someone to play with? So that's when we posted open hours Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturdays. So it kind of told people like other people will be here, like come play with them. And then you're held to 1 hour of playing time. But then there's also, we installed them last year, like pickle ball, like racket things, and you put it in there, and that like is how you go through the system of playing.
But there
How they
is
rotate.
I'm not a pickleball player either, but my parents are, and my mom said there's an app that like all of her friends use in other areas that just like has the schedules and you block your time off and that's that.
Yeah,
So we could, if you start to run into issues with the scheduling,
yeah.
we can look into that.
That's a good idea.
Great. And the skate park staff a little bit handles it, like they know enough, like if someone's playing like well over an hour to go out there and compensate and things, but. And then that's it.
Great. Good meeting, guys.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, adjourned at 6:53.
Right.
Great.